And the change to Melissa Moore and to Susan Andrews is going to have to chase hard, but it's Victoria leading into the third lap of this 4x400 metre relay, but not for long, as Melissa Moore from New South Wales does the chasing. Kathy Harding leads for Victoria. Moore of New South Wales now overtakes them at about 10 or 15 metres back to Susan Andrews.
Well, I think this is where Tasmania will catch up and go past the other states. Susan Andrews won the Commonwealth Trials, beating Debbie Flintoff-King. She didn't have enough gap between her and them at that change, and I think she'll sweep past them as they come round into the straight to give Tasmania the lead.
180 metres out in the second last 400 metre turn, and it's Andrews moving up on the outside, and the parochial crowd gets vocal as Andrews runs to the front. And Andrews leads them into the straight. On the inside, Kathy Harding and Melissa Moore from New South Wales. Victoria now in second spot. The cheering is boisterous, but there's a lap to go. But Tasmania will lead as Andrews runs a blistering 400 metre third leg and changes over to Gail Luke. Hot on her hammer will be Krista Graham of Victoria, and a sloppy change for Sophie Scamps of New South Wales. But Gail Luke, as they head into the last 350 metres, has a lead of about 8 metres from Krista Graham of Victoria, who's been overtaken by Sophie Scamps of New South Wales.
Yes, well, the fastest of these girls on paper is the girl in front, the Tasmanian girl, Gail Luke. Commonwealth representative in the 800 metres last year and a finalist in the 400. She's run 53.4 last year, and the question is, can she hold off the world junior rep Sophie Scamps?
Inside 200 metres, and it's Luke leading, but Scamps coming quickly for New South Wales. A big gap to Krista Graham. In the straight, 120 out. Tasmania lead New South Wales. Victoria out of contention. Luke leads. Scamps coming at her on the outside. Luke is strong. Scamps trying to raise another effort. Luke in front. Scamps coming now. 30 metres from the line. Luke hanging on. Scamps finishing hard for New South Wales. Will she get up? It's going to be close. No! Tasmania beat New South Wales. And in third spot, Victoria, in a sensational finish in the women in New South Wales, with Victoria in third spot in the women's 4x400 metres relay.
Here we see Gail Luke with plenty of lead really at that stage, but Sophie Scamps running strongly. Luke then opened up and I thought it was all over, but if we just follow her as she comes down, she starts to really tighten up here. Scamps holds her form. Nice open running style. She's catching Luke with every stride, but she doesn't quite make it.
Susan, congratulations, a fantastic third leg.
Thank you.
Good feeling to win?
It's a great feeling to win. We've been waiting for this one. We came second last year, so we were out to win this year.
On a personal note, your form seems to be pretty good as you, built up to the Nationals?
Yes, kind of. I've been unlucky, haven't been too well in the last couple of weeks, so that's why I ran third instead of fourth. Seems all right.
What are the ambitions for the coming year?
Just to run in the Grand Prix meets around Australia this year and just the Nationals, and then we'll see.
Official results of the women's 4x400 metres relay. Tasmania successful, and they've broken the record set by the Australian national team at the same meet last year. Tasmania defeating New South Wales with Victoria third. The new record, 3 minutes 37.87 seconds. 4 states in the men's 4x400 metres relay.
And he's overtaken Belikov, and the Australian's gone up tremendously quickly in the second 200. Very steady over the first. The Japanese going well, Sato on the outside, but Robinson storming through. Robinson's going to win this one, and Sato coming through in the second place. Belikov holds on third, 49.74, and that's a very quick run indeed.
The men's 4x400 metres relay, 4 teams, and this should be a beauty. Terry Dwyer.
Yes, it will be a beauty. I think the real clash here is between New South Wales and Victoria. Here we see the Victorian first runner, Lee Miller, Commonwealth Games rep in the 400 hurdles, very good 400 runner. And against him is Lee Miller, Western Australian boy Peter O'Dwyer, who are really...
Victoria will chase Garner of New South Wales, and they're both slippery. Tasmania have Troy Bennett doing the chasing, and Dean Capo-Bianco for WA too far back for success, but it's Garner leading from Robinson in the back straight, and back to Troy Bennett, the winner in the first 2.
What a race this will be. Mark Garner has run for Australia twice in this event, ran 20.6 for 200 last week, and the World Junior 400 hurdle gold medalist, Rowan Robinson, chasing him.
180 out. Garner appears to have Robinson covered. He's got about 8 to 10 metres. And Bennett running surprisingly well for Tasmania, but Garner seems to be controlled. Not much of him, but he's got heaps of strength and stamina. And the fleet-footed Mark Garner heads for home in the men's 4x400 metre relay. This will be New South Wales. Robinson in second spot, hanging on for Victoria. And Bennett running a gutsy race for Tasmania, but Garner hits the tape. He wins. New South Wales first, Victoria second, Tasmania third. And in fourth place, Dean Capobianco from Western Australia. But the honours with the side from New South Wales, who take all the plaudits and glory in the men's 4x400 metres relay. New South Wales winning and winning handsomely, and their official time 3 minutes 7.17 seconds. They defeated Victoria and Tasmania. Only a small field, but a classy field of 4 to greet the starter for the women's 400 metres, a Grand Prix event. And Sharon Stewart of Victoria, the national record holder, is, I think, the favourite, but the man with the knowledge to go. And away cleanly, Stewart on the inside, Sam Bell, Harding and Freeman. Stewart's the highly credentialed performer, but Freeman running quite well in the first 110 metres lead. Sam Bell moving up quickly on the inside will take over the running, and Sharon Stewart running a controlled first 120. So in effect, Sam Bell leads down the back straight with about 250 metres to go. Sam Bell has gobbled up on the outside of her Freeman. Dropping back is Kathy Harding, and Sharon Stewart now poised for a surge over the last 200 as Kathy Sam Bell will lead them into the breeze here at the Domain Athletic Centre. The women's 400 metres Grand Prix event. Sam Bell leads. The strength of Stewart, that'll hold her in good stead as they head into the straight, and Freeman is fighting on well. A good gap there to Kathy Harding, but in the straight, 100 metres out, Stewart is strong, runs past Sam Bell and looks set for a victory. Freeman running quite well in third spot, a good gap back in the field to Kathy Harding, but it's Sharon Stewart striding out, the national champion over this distance. Freeman finishing strongly, might get up and run second. Stewart wins. Freeman and Sam Bell close for second and third, and in fourth spot, Kathy Harding, but an all-the-way win and a composed performance by Sharon Stewart. Defeated Kathy Freeman with Kathy Sam Bell in third spot, and the time for Stewart, 53.95 seconds. Was being reduced. We have the team from the Australian A represented by Monique Dunstan, Kathy Sam Bell, Kathy Freeman and Fiona Blair, and the Australian B team, Rebecca Vormister, Sue Huff, Melissa Moore and Melinda Gainsford.
Yes, we essentially have the team that won the Commonwealth gold medal here. That's Monique Dunstan, Kathy Sam Bell, Kathy Freeman and Fiona Blair, substituting for Kerry Johnson, who's got a bad Achilles tendon at the moment. And they're up against a good young team, led off by Rebecca Vormister, who I think may be the most promising 100-metre, 200-metre runner in the country at the moment. She beat Debbie Wells, 20-year-old schools 200-metre record just 1 month ago, and she's very exciting. It'll be interesting to see which of these two girls actually has the lead at the first change. It's ought to be a fairly close race, although that Australian A team really ought to have 2 or 3 metres or maybe more on them at the finish.
And away, almost perfect conditions. The Australian A team, Monique Dunstan on the inside and Rebecca Vormister from the Australian B team. Not much to separate the two girls as they come up to make the first change. Perhaps Dunstan by a smidgen as she takes over and hands to Kathy Sam Bell, who scorches down the back straight, chasing Sue Huff. There's not much in this. Sam Bell has probably picked up a metre as they get to the 200 metre, and the important change to Kathy Freeman for the Australian A and Melissa Moore. Bad change to Freeman, and Melissa Moore from the Australian B team kicks away. Now Freeman starts to motor, and as they head to the final change, this will be close. Fiona Blair will take it over from Kathy Freeman and Melinda Gainsford. Gainsford leads. It'll be a chase for Fiona Blair on the inside, but Gainsford holding on. Fiona Blair coming quickly, but here's a surprise. The Australian B team, very good baton changing and an excellent win. They win from the Australian A team in the women's 4x100 metres relay.
So go down the back straight. Sue Huff, formerly Sue Alton, actually holds Kathy Sam Bell, and then there's that awful change to Kathy Freeman. You'd think those girls who ran in Auckland and won the gold medal would do a better job than that, but Freeman actually knuckles down to the job, picks up Melissa Moore, a metre or two there. She then gives a fair handover, but Melinda Gainsford, who won the gift heat earlier on, is really showing her strength. The strength that made her a real contender in the World Junior Championships, and she pulls right away from the other New South Wales girl there. Still a junior, very promising, and the time will be interesting there. Good close race. Down the home straight here.
First from the Australian A team, the time 44.83 seconds. This is what it's all about. 8 teams in it. The men's 4x100 metres relay with the Australian juniors, the Australian B team, the Australian A team, Western Australia, Indonesia, the team from the US, New Zealand and Victoria. And boy, oh boy, we're going to see a slippery 400 metres from a packed, talented bunch of athletes on track at the moment.
Well, the 4 middle lanes, that's lanes 3 through to 6, include the 4 top-seeded teams. Those teams include the Australian A team with the shaven-headed Shane Naylor leading them off. Next to him, the Western Australian side that Matt Barber coaches with that wonderful sprinter, 15, Capobianco running the third leg. Indonesia beside them in 5, and then in lane 6, this very, very good American college team, which is headed by Richard Bucknor, an Olympic semi-finalist in the 110 hurdles.
In the starter's hands. This is better. The Australian juniors, B, A, W, A, followed by Indonesia, Collegiate, New Zealand already doing well on the second outside lane, catching up to Victoria. It's W, A in the middle lane with Capobianco running strongly on his inside. It's Garner chasing him down the back straight. So W, A in front. US are second from the outside with New Zealand, but it's W, A running very well. The change will come over now to Ben Collins for Western Australia, and the Australian team coming up on the inside with McBain. The Australians looking strong in this third leg. They'll head to take the lead from Western Australia, the final change, and it's Australia in front from Western Australia down the straight. Australia and WA. Australia leading with Robert Ballard and Kieran Finn running quickly. Ballard and Finn, and they'll get through with Ballard for the Australians winning from Western Australia. Australian B getting up to run third, and on the inside the juniors, and they had some troubles back in the field with the collegiate team in Indonesia and New Zealand and Victoria, but that virtually worked out to be head and head in the straight with Ballard and Finn, and for a moment I thought WA were going to scoop the pool, but it was too strong Robert Ballard, and the Australian A team wins the men's 4x100 metres relay.
Steve McBain runs a splendid leg for Australia at this stage. Australian Commonwealth Games rep hands over to Robert Ballard. He's got the lead on Kieran Finn. So here it is, Western Australia versus Australia. And coming down on the inside, Australia B and Australian juniors. But Australia has been too strong for the strongest state team in Australia. A little disappointing, the Americans, short of sharp work, obviously. And the Indonesians, based on their times, here coming down the straight, you can see two very strong men in Robert Ballard, New South Welshman, and Kieran Finn, an Irishman running for Western Australia. Fighting hard, but Ballard too good for Finn. And on the outside lane there, we can see the very good Howard Davis, who has anchored a team that's run 38.5, coming in about 5th place, I think.
Robert, congratulations. A stand-in for 4x100, and really the gauntlet thrown down to you in that ankle leg.
You're not wrong with it. I've been sprinting well, so I was fairly confident if we had it first, we would hold on to win.
Coming into that ankle leg, you seem to be giving a little bit of ground to the Western Australians?
Oh, I think we changed probably about the same time. Our change was a bit ordinary in the last change, but still went through smoothly.
Interesting to get the
give you a taste for the 100s, or you stick with a little slightly longer relays?
I think the 4x4 is my forte. That'll do me.
Well, one victory under the belt. Can you go another step ahead with the 4x4?
Oh, I think we should win tonight and should win well.
The magical 40-second barrier broken by the Australian A team. They defeated in second spot Western Australia, the Australian B team third, and the Australians in fourth spot. The depth showing out, and the official time for the winning quadrella, 39.99 seconds. Final of the women's 120 metres gift. It should be a beauty. Monique Dunstan off scratch, Melinda Gainsford 1.5, Melissa Moore 1.5, Fiona Blair 2 metres, Galinda Riley 2.5, Jo Miller-Cubitt 3.5, Belinda Cosgrove 3.5, and Michelle Gilbert, the outmarker, on 4.5 metres.
good field. It includes last year's winner in the second lane, Melinda Gainsford, who looked very strong in the heats. She's a 19-year-old from New South Wales who represented Australia in the World Juniors. Inside her, Monique Dunstan, a Commonwealth gold medalist in the 4x1 at Auckland. Just outside Melinda, we have Melissa Moore from New South Wales, won this race 2 years ago. Fiona Blair, a very promising Australian junior, 100-metre champion last year in the under-20 event. Galinda Riley, Tasmanian champion outside her. Jo Miller-Cubitt, Belinda Cosgrove and Michelle Gilbert.
On the way now, it's Dunstan on the inside from Gainsford, Moore, Blair, Riley, Cubitt, Cosgrove and Gilbert. In lane 2, it's Gainsford in front, but outside her is Galinda Riley, but it's Gainsford now getting the upper head, and Gainsford will win close for second and third. Blair and Moore on the inside, Riley with Dunstan, Cosgrove and Gilbert. But we'll wait for the slow-mo replay. But I tell you what, Melinda Gainsford enjoys coming down to Hobart and enjoys doing it in fine style.
Melinda Gainsford got out very, very fast early on. As they come around the turn here, you can see she's just about hit the front. The angle's a bit deceptive. She doesn't really drive away from them at that point. And I thought Fiona Blair might come through and catch her, but no, she was too strong. And there's about a metre and a half in that at the finish. Gainsford in that second lane there doesn't look to be too far out in front, but she is maintaining her form well. Arms coming through nice and straight. Good drive from the arms, and she's got very powerful thighs, Melinda. Second year in a row for her. I think she might be back for many years to come.
Well, congratulations, back-to-back gifts. You must like it down here.
Yeah, actually, I was really surprised as much as last year, so quite happy with it.
Pretty hectic schedule for you tonight.
Certainly was. It's all very close together, but it's good. It's good lead-ups for the state championships and Australian titles and things, so it's nice to have a run.
What are your ambitions for this year?
I'll compete at state and then go to nationals, and then hopefully, just to see how it goes, I will try for the World Championships in Tokyo.
The women's 120 metres gift final, Melinda Gainsford from Fiona Blair and Melissa Moore, with the winner's time 14.16 seconds. The field for the men's 120 metres gift final, Damien Marsh off 1 metre, Darren Clark off 1.5, Peter O'Dwyer 2, John Payne 2.5. In lane 5, Kyle Vanderkype 3 metres, Jim Thompson of Tasmania 3 metres, Peter Vasella of New South Wales 3.5, Ian Dennis of Tasmania in lane 8 also 3.5. But it's a welcome back to someone who loves coming down to the relay championships, Darren Clark. Making up the ground on the inside.
The national relay meet has over a number of years proved to be popular with many of Australia's leading athletes, none more so than Darren Clark. Clark has been to the fore on Australian and international tracks for the last 8 years, finishing 4th in the Seoul Olympic 400 metres in 1988 and winning gold at the Auckland Commonwealth Games last year.
Clark will lead them into the straight. Kip Kemboy is with them. Kitor is coming through. Darren Clark has got this field under control, I suspect. Kip Kemboy is coming at him, but he can't sustain it. Darren Clark came to Auckland on business, and that business is completed.
His decision to turn to rugby league caused more than a few ripples, but it's a change Clark's enjoying.
Well, it is different. I mean, the football is, it's not quite, the quality's not the same, and the intensity to a point isn't the same, but it's totally different, and I think that's what I needed. I certainly needed a change and a different challenge, and I'm certainly getting that in rugby league.
While the move to rugby appears to be an irreversible one, Clark hopes to maintain an involvement with athletics, especially the national relay titles in Hobart.
Well, I always said that I want to keep involved at some, in athletics to some degree, and the meet down here in Hobart, the Hobart Relays, are one of my favourite meets, and for me as an athlete, it was always the kick-off to the season, and I always want to come down here, and I said to Terry Dwyer, the meet director, that I want to come down, for the next 5 years if possible, and just keep supporting the meet, because it's such an enjoyable meet to run in, and Hobart's such a beautiful place.
Damien Marsh there, one of my favourites for this event, was a finalist in the World Junior 100 metres. Great Queensland teenager. Darren Clark, not in his best event, but you've got to be very fast in the short stuff to be world-class 400 runner. Cross there to Peter O'Dwyer, second in the Burnie gift. Another Western Australian there in John Payne, former Australian 400 champion. Another of my tips for this is Kyle Vanderkype, World Junior medalist. And then coming across from him to Jim Thompson, great Tasmanian, Peter Vasella, New South Wales Junior, and Ian Dennis beside him, Western Australian Junior.
And they're away. It's Marsh in lane 1 from Clark, O'Dwyer, Payne, Vanderkype, Thompson, Vasella and Dennis. In lane 3, it's O'Dwyer at the moment with Vanderkype coming at him, and wider out, it's Vasella. It's going to be close with O'Dwyer, Vanderkype and Vasella. O'Dwyer coming up on the inside, Marsh, but it's O'Dwyer with Vanderkype and Vasella. Marsh coming up on the inside, followed then by Payne. Clark was well back, and Thompson the last across the line, with Peter O'Dwyer, who's had a bonza start to the 1991 season, a big smile, a happy grin, one of the first to congratulate him, Darren Clark. But number 263 on screen, Peter O'Dwyer from Western Australia, all the honours with him in the men's 120 metres gift final.
Well, Peter O'Dwyer, who got out so fast in the relay, does exactly the same thing here. I haven't seen anyone beat him over the 2 days. He tends to die in these events, but gee, Peter O'Dwyer didn't die tonight, and Kylie Vanderkype's strong finish just wasn't good enough. And a surprisingly strong finish there by Peter Vasella, who may have picked up third. He's got the genes with 2 Olympic finalists for parents. On the head-on shot again, we can see O'Dwyer clear. Vanderkype running very strongly. He's an improving teenager, that Vanderkype. On the inside, I think that inside lane was too tight for Damien Marsh, the exciting young Queensland 100-metre runner.
Well, Peter, congratulations. The bridesmaid no longer. A great win.
Thanks a lot, yeah. Felt good out there. The headwind dropped off a bit and I was there when it counted. Finished, thanks.
It's been a very successful tour down to Tasmania. You're going to do it again?
Oh, yeah, for sure. This is my 3rd year and we'll be coming back for good, thing.
Now, what are the ambitions so far as Peter O'Dwyer is concerned for 1991?
I hope to set myself for the Nationals and hopefully get a spot in the 4x1.
Peter O'Dwyer of Western Australia won the men's 120 metres gift final from Kyle van der Kuip of Victoria, with Peter Vasella of New South Wales third, the time 12.54 seconds. Field for the men's Grand Prix 3,000 metres event, and undoubtedly the class performer in the field will be Pat Carroll. Pat Carroll, a highly credentialed performer, and with conditions pretty much spot on at the moment, with not a lot of breeze, perhaps we could see a smart time in this men's 3,000 metres event. First of many Grand Prix throughout the year, and Hobart fortunate by 400 metres relay, an international and a classy field. 6 teams: New Zealand, the United States, Australia B, the Australian Juniors, an Australian A team, and an Australian C team. The United States team is a classy one, and Howard Davis well remembers Olympic Games 1988 in the relay.
Robert Ballard, so away. Brian Whittle from lane 1 for Great Britain. Danny Everett, lane 2 for the United States. Karlovitz for East Germany in 3. Davis for Jamaica in 4. Sunday Uti for Nigeria in 5. They also got a medal along with Great Britain and the US in Los Angeles. In lane 6, AA of West Germany, Robert Ballard of Australia and Tito Savi of Kenya.
At this stage, Uti's running a very, very big leg for Nigeria, coming through very, very strongly. I'm sure that we'll see Everett come through in a moment to bring the States up. It's very difficult to tell with the 500-metre stagger how they're going, but Robert Ballard's putting in an enormous effort there for Australia, which he needs to do.
So the first change comes, and the Americans will go to Steve Lewis, and the Australians go to Mark Garner.
Men's international 4x400 metres relay, the last event on track. At New Zealand, our visitors from across the water.
Yes, Mark Wood's there for New Zealand. I think the New Zealanders will be strong in this, but not capable of winning. Michael Joubert, the fastest freshman in the United States last year at 45.89. Australian boy at college at Washington State at present. Moving down here to the Andrew Wilcox, running for the Australian B team, ran 46.40 last year, promising Victorian runner. Then across to the Australian junior team, who I think will be the likely challengers to the Australian A and the Americans, and that's Simon Hollingsworth, who ran a 45.7 leg in the World Juniors. Really one of our most talented 400 prospects who's coming up. And then we move on to Dean Capobianco, not known for his 400-metre running, but has run wonderfully well in the last few weeks over 120 metres and 200 metres. And nonetheless, will be very interesting to watch here running for Australia. And then on the outside, Stephen Kingston, second in last year's National Under-18 Championship, an improving young 400-metre runner from Tasmania.
And you will say who will win?
I think the Australian A team, which includes 3 of the men who ran in the 4x4 final at Seoul, will be too good, but the Americans will be strong, and the Australian juniors may surprise.
There's Dean Capobianco flexing the muscles. Starter getting ready to carry out his task. Big crowd here at the Domain. Last track event. They're on their way. New Zealand, the United States, Australia B, the juniors, the Australian A team and the Australian C team. And Capobianco running the first 110 quite well. On his inside is Simon Hollingsworth. Now let's look back to the United States team. Michael Joubert in lane 2. Talk us through the first 200 metres, Terry Dwyer.
Well, at this stage, Capobianco looks as though he's well within himself. Hollingsworth is running very strongly, as he did in the Australian Championships. And Michael Joubert is keeping the Americans in contention, running a much stronger leg here than he did in the 4x100 relay. And as anticipated, it comes down to 3 teams as we come into that last change, with Joubert fighting to hang on.
And it's Capobianco. Here's a fine performance. This man has worked so hard in the last few months. And Capobianco from Hollingsworth with Kingston coming through on the inside, Wilcox. Then the United States changing over to Richard Buckner with Mark Woods for the New Zealand team. But that's a fine run by Dean Capobianco, and he sets up the possibility of Miles Murphy really bursting into prominence down the back straight in the second leg of this men's 4x400 metres international relay.
Well, Murphy has not been renowned for good relay legs, but I spoke to him last night and he said he was going to go for it tonight and go for a time, and Murphy is doing that. He has the second fastest time in history in Australia behind Darren Clark And he's really put it in the first part of this race. There's no loafing tonight for Murphy.
He's well clear. It's been a big performance by Murphy with the Australian junior team with Matthew Burmester. But Murphy running very strongly down the straight. He's going to change over to Robert Ballard, and Ballard's ready to fire. So is Rowan Robinson, and Rowan Robinson's smart, so the junior team are going to put some pressure on, and it's the New Zealand team who are in 4th or 5th spot. And disappointingly, Terry, the United States dropping well back now with Howard Davis running their 3rd league, but they're out of contention.
No,
but look at
I
them
think
down the
we
back
now
straight.
Concentrate here on the race between the Australian seniors and the Australian juniors.
And it's Robinson chasing Ballard and about to put the pressure on him. There's the New Zealand team and the other team from Australia well back in the field. But it's Ballard leading now with about 120 to go. And Robinson, and it's a pretty interesting race in the first 3, Terry, to wire.
That's right. This boy who ran so well in the World Juniors, Rowan Robinson, is determined. Wants to take over from Ballard at this point. But Ballard showing great determination, but fitting a man who's represented Australia in the Olympics and Commonwealth Games, and it's a race between Garner and Green as they come into the last leg.
Garner takes off, Green on his hammer. Garner and Green, they've worked hard, these two, in races leading up to this meet, and they both love victories. Garner at the 300, Green on his hammer. Green's the taller of the two, and look at the way he outstrips Garner, but Garner controlled, Green on his hammer, 200 out. Mark Garner, Paul Green, head and head. What a finish to these championships for 1991. Garner strong, Green has got to sit on him. Can he outkick him? In the straight, 110 out. Garner leads. Green about to pull out and make his move. Garner in front. Here comes Green, but Garner bursts clear. Has a handy 5-metre lead. Now Green's coming at him. Garner in front. Green lunging. It's going to be close. Garner, Green. Oh, dead heat. What a finish. What a finish. The Australian A team and the junior team, a blanket finish.
As they come round the turn into the straight, I must say I had my money on Garner again. He accelerated, looked relaxed and strong. Green looked to be dying, but then with that high knee action, fighting arms coming up and boom, the legs stretched right out, and I think he might have just got ahead of his Australian senior teammate. No, we need the photo, Peter. I won't pick that.
Well, Paul, firstly, congratulations on your Australian junior record. How do you feel about that?
Pretty relieved, actually. It's better as our performance in Plovdiv at the recent World Junior Championships. I think we all ran very well, as did all the teams there today, so I'm very pleased with it, yes.
Now, Mark, coming around that final bend, you were being pressed by Paul. I guess you knew he was on your shoulder?
Yeah, well, I thought I had a bit of a break on him, about 50 to go, and I could feel him coming up again. About the last 3 or 4 strides, my legs just decided to stop, and he just got me on the line. I was dead heat anyway, so it was a good race, it really was.
Now, Mark, firstly, so far as you're concerned, are you happy with the way your early season form is?
Yes, on Saturday I ran 20.61 with a 2.2 tailwind, but that's a PB by 2/10, and yesterday I ran very well in the 4x4 and ran an easy 45.5 split, so I'm pretty happy with the way I'm going so far this year.
Now, Paul, you seem to be going from strength to strength. Did the run at the World Championships with the junior team, has that given you confidence to go ahead another step?
It's given me determination to work hard. If anything, it sort of knocked me back about 3 steps because I had injuries. I didn't perform nearly as well as I wanted to. But I know I'm going to be up there this year. I'll be up there with all the rest of them, fighting for the spot in the World Champs next year and fighting for that #1 400-metre ranking.
It looks as though it's going to be one heck of a national championships coming up.
I hope so, yes. It should be good for athletics this year.
And Mark, so far as you're personally concerned, also eyes on the World Champs?
Yes, so for the 400 metres and the 4x4 relay, and maybe the 200 if the way I'm running in the 200 at the moment, I might even try that as well. So it'll be very close here with Darren